Howdy, elder brothers. Very sexy individuals. How are you doing? This is the first recording of the day. I'm either going to record a second uh, f- part of of the quotations, or I'm going to do the other one, Three Kingdoms. Haven't decided yet. I think I'm enjoying reading quotations from Chairman Mao Tse-tung more than I am Three Kingdoms, but we'll see. I'm wearing my Jarv shirt today that I just got, the Jarvage. Went and saw him and Damn Skippy and King Green over the weekend. That was pretty good. They're they're good guys. They come to Chicago relatively often. Um, yeah, that's all I got. It's time to cook. Time to get into it. 7. Dare to struggle and dare to win. People of the world, unite and defeat the U.S. aggressors and all their running dogs. People of the world, be courageous, dare to fight, defy difficulties, and advance wave upon wave. Then the whole world will belong to the people. Monsters of all kinds shall be destroyed. The Communist Party of China, having made a clear-headed appraisal of the international and domestic situation on the basis of the science of Marxism-Leninism, recognized that all attacks by the reactionaries at home and abroad had to be defeated and could be defeated. When dark clouds appeared in the sky, we pointed out that they were only temporary, that the darkness would soon pass and the sun break through. Historically, all reactionary forces on the verge of extinction invariably conduct a last, desperate struggle against the revolutionary forces, and some revolutionaries are apt to be deluded for a time by this phenomenon of outward strength but inner weakness, failing to grasp the essential fact that the enemy is nearing extinction while they themselves are approaching victory. If they fight, we will wipe them out completely. This is the way things are. If they attack and we wipe them out, they will have that satisfaction. Wipe out some satisfaction. Wipe out more satisfaction. Wipe out the whole lot, complete satisfaction. China's problems are complicated, and our brains must also be a little complicated. If they start fighting, we fight back. Fight to win peace. If anyone attacks us, and if the conditions are favorable for battle, we will certainly act in self-defense to wipe him out resolutely, thoroughly, wholly, and completely. We do not strike rashly, but when we do strike, we must win. We must never be cowed by the bluster of reactionaries. As far as our own desire is concerned, we don't want to fight even for a single day. But if the circumstances force us to fight, we can fight to the finish. We are for peace. But so long as U.S. imperialism refuses to give up its arrogant and unreasonable demands and its scheme to extend aggression, the only course for the Chinese people is to remain determined to go on fighting side by side with the Korean people. Not that we are warlike. We are willing to stop the war at once and leave the remaining questions for later settlement. But U.S. imperialism is not willing to do so. All right then, let the fighting go on. However many years U.S. imperialism wants to fight, we are ready to fight right up to the moment when it is willing to stop, right up to the moment of complete victory for the Chinese and Korean peoples. We should rid our ranks of all impotent thinking. All views that overestimate the strength of the enemy and underestimate the strength of the people are wrong. The oppressed peoples and nations must not pin their hopes for liberation on sensibleness of imperialism and its lackeys. They will only triumph by strengthening their unity and persevering in their struggle. No matter when this countrywide civil war breaks out, we must be well prepared. If it comes early, say tomorrow morning, we should also be prepared. That is point one. In the present international and domestic situation, it is possible that for a time the civil war may be kept restricted in scale and localized. That is point two. Point one is what we should prepare for. Point two is what has existed for a long time. In short, we must be prepared. Being prepared, we shall be able to deal properly with all kinds of complicated situations. 8. People's War. The Revolutionary War is a war of the masses. It can be waged only by mobilizing the masses and relying on them. What is a true bastion of iron? It is the masses, the millions upon millions of people who genuinely and sincerely support the revolution. That is the real iron bastion which it is impossible, and absolutely impossible, for any force on earth to smash. The counter-revolution cannot smash us. On the contrary, we shall smash it. Rallying millions upon millions of people round the revolutionary government and expanding our revolutionary war, we shall wipe out all counter-revolution and take over the whole of China. The richest source of power to wage war lies in the masses of the people. It is mainly because of the unorganized state of the Chinese masses that Japan dares to bully us. When this defect is remedied, then the Japanese aggressor, like a mad bull crashing into a ring of flames, will be surrounded by hundreds of millions of our people standing upright. The mere sound of their voices will strike terror into him, and he will be burned to death. The imperialists are bullying us in such a way that we will have to deal with them seriously. Not only must we have a powerful regular army, we must also organize contingents of the people's militia on a big scale. This will make it difficult for the imperialists to move a single inch in our country in the event of invasion. Considering the Revolutionary War as a whole, the operations of the people's guerrillas and those of the main forces of the Red Army complement each other like a man's right arm and left arm, and if we had only the main forces of the Red Army without the people's guerrillas, we would be like a warrior with only one arm. In concrete terms, and especially with regard to military operations, when we talk of the people in the base area as a factor, we mean that we have an armed people. That is the main reason why the enemy is afraid to approach our base area. Unquestionably, victory or defeat in war is determined mainly by the military, political, economic, and natural conditions on both sides, but by not these alone. It is also determined by each side's subjective ability in directing the war. In his endeavor to win a war, a military strategist cannot overstep the limitations imposed by the material conditions. Within these limitations, however, he can and must strive for victory. The stage of action for a military strategist is built upon objective material conditions, but on that stage he can direct the performance of many a drama full of sound and color, power and grandeur. The object of war is specifically to preserve oneself and destroy the enemy. To destroy the enemy means to disarm him or deprive him of the power to resist, and does not mean to destroy every member of his forces physically. In ancient warfare, the spear and the shield were used, the spear to attack and destroy the enemy, and the shield to defend and preserve oneself. To the present day, all weapons are still an extension of the spear and the shield. The bomber, the machine gun, the long-range gun, and poison gas are developments of the spear, while the air raid shelter, the steel helmet, the concrete fortification, and the gas mask are developments of the shield. The tank is a new weapon combining the functions of both spear and shield. Attack is the chief means of destroying the enemy, but defense cannot be dispensed with. In attack, the immediate object is to destroy the enemy, but at the same time it is self-preservation, because if the enemy is not destroyed, you will be destroyed. In defense, the immediate object is to preserve yourself, but at the same time defense is a means of supplementing attack, or preparing to go over to the attack. Retreat is in the category of defense, and is a continuation of defense, while pursuit is a continuation of attack. It should be pointed out that the destruction of the enemy is the primary object of war, and self-preservation the secondary, because only by destroying the enemy in large numbers can one effectively preserve oneself. Therefore, attack, the chief means of destroying the enemy, is primary, while defense, a supplementary means of destroying the enemy and a means of self-preservation, is secondary. In actual warfare, the chief role is played by defense much of the time, and by attack for the rest of the time. But if war is taken as a whole, attack remains primary. All the guiding principles of military operations grow out of the one basic principle: to strive to the utmost to preserve one's own strength and destroy that of the enemy. How then do we justify the encouragement of heroic sacrifice in war? Every war exacts a price, sometimes an extremely high one. Is this not in contradiction with preserving oneself? In fact, there is no contradiction at all. To put it more exactly, sacrifice and self-preservation are both opposite and complementary to each other. For such sacrifice is essential, not only for destroying the enemy, but also for preserving oneself. Partial and temporary non-preservation, sacrifice or paying the price, is necessary for the sake of general and permanent preservation. From this basic principle stems the series of principles guiding military operations, all of which, from the principles of shooting, taking cover to preserve oneself, and making full use of firepower to destroy the enemy, to the principles of strategy, are permeated with the spirit of this basic principle. All technical principles and all principles concerning tactics, campaigns, and strategy represent applications of this basic principle. The principle of preserving oneself and destroying the enemy is the basis of all military principles. Our principles of operation are: 1. Attack dispersed. Isolated enemy forces first. Attack concentrated. Strong enemy forces later. 2. Take small and medium cities and extensive rural areas first. Take big cities later. 3. Make wiping out the enemy's effective strength our main objective. Do not make holding or seizing a city or place our main objective. Holding or seizing a city or place is the outcome of wiping out the enemy's effective strength, and often a city or place can be held or seized for good only after it has changed hands a number of times. 4. In every battle, concentrate an absolutely superior force. 2, 3, 4, and sometimes even 5 or 6 times the enemy's strength. Encircle the enemy forces completely. Strive to wipe them out thoroughly, and do not let any escape from the net. In special circumstances, use the method of dealing the enemy crushing blows, that is, concentrate all our strength to make a frontal attack and an attack on one or both of his flanks, with the aim of wiping out one part and routing another, so that our army can swiftly move its troops to smash other enemy forces. Strive to avoid battles of attrition in which we lose more than we gain, or only break even. In this way, although inferior as a whole in terms of numbers, we shall be absolutely superior in every part and every specific campaign, and this ensures victory in the campaign. As time goes on, we shall become superior as a whole, and eventually wipe out all the enemy. 5. Fight no battle unprepared. Fight no battle you are not sure of winning. Make every effort to be well prepared for each battle. Make every effort to ensure victory in the given set of conditions, as between the enemy and ourselves. 6. Give full play to our style of fighting. Courage in battle, no fear of sacrifice, no fear of fatigue, and continuous fighting. That is, fighting successive battles in a short time without rest. 7. Strive to wipe out the enemy when he is on the move. At the same time, pay attention to the tactics of positional attack, and capture enemy fortified points and cities. 8. With regard to attacking cities, resolutely seize all enemy fortified points and cities which are weakly defended. At opportune moments, seize all enemy fortified points and cities defended with moderate strength, provided circumstances permit. As for all strongly defended enemy fortified points and cities, wait till conditions are ripe, and then take them. 9. Replenish our strength with all the arms and most of the personnel captured from the enemy. Our army's main sources of manpower and material are at the front. 10. Make good use of the intervals between campaigns to rest, train, and consolidate our troops. Periods of rest, training, and consolidation should not be in general very long, and the enemy should so far as possible be permitted no breathing space. These are the main methods the People's Liberation Army has employed in defeating Chiang Kai-shek. They are the result of the tempering of the People's Liberation Army in long years of fighting against domestic and foreign enemies, and are completely suited to our present situation. Our strategy and tactics are based on a people's war. No army opposed to the people can use our strategy and tactics. Without preparedness, superiority is not real superiority, and there can be no initiative either. Having grasped this point, A force which is inferior but prepared can often defeat a superior enemy by surprise attack. 9. The People's Army. Without a people's army, the people have nothing. This army is powerful because all its members have a conscious discipline. They have come together and they fight not for the private interests of a few individuals or a narrow clique, but for the interests of broad masses and of the whole nation. The sole purpose of this army is to stand firmly with the Chinese people and to serve them wholeheartedly. The Chinese Red Army is an armed body for carrying out the political tasks of the revolution. Especially at present, the Red Army should certainly not confine itself to fighting. Besides fighting to destroy the enemy's military strength, it should shoulder such important tasks as doing propaganda among the masses, organizing the masses, arming them, helping them to establish revolutionary political power, and setting up party organizations. The Red Army fights not merely for the sake of fighting, but in order to conduct propaganda among the masses, organize them, arm them, and help them to establish revolutionary political power. Without these objectives, fighting loses its meaning, and the Red Army loses the reason for its existence. The People's Liberation Army is always a fighting force. Even after countrywide victory, our army will remain a fighting force during the historical period in which classes have not been abolished in our country, and the imperialist system still exists in the world. On this point, there should be no misunderstanding or wavering. We have an army for fighting as well as an army for labor. For fighting, we have the 8th Route and new 4th Armies, but even they do a dual job, warfare and production. With these two kinds of armies, and with a fighting army skilled in these two tasks and in mass work, we can overcome our difficulties and defeat Japanese imperialism. Our national defense will be consolidated, and no imperialist will be allowed to invade our territory again. Our people's armed forces must be maintained and developed with the brave and steeled People's Liberation Army as their foundation. We will have not only a powerful army, but also a powerful air force and a powerful navy. Our principle is that the party commands the gun, and the gun must never be allowed to command the party. All our officers and fighters must always bear in mind that we are the great People's Liberation Army. We are the troops led by the great Communist Party of China. Provided we constantly observe the directives of the party, we are sure to win. 10. Leadership of Party Committees. The party committee system is an important party institution for ensuring collective leadership and preventing any individual from monopolizing the conduct of its affairs. It has recently been found that in some, of course not all, leading bodies, it is the habitual practice for one individual to monopolize the conduct of affairs and decide important problems. Solutions to important problems are decided not by party committee meetings, but by one individual, and membership in the party committee has become nominal. Differences of opinion among committee members cannot be resolved and are left unresolved for a long time. Members of the party committee maintain only formal, not real, unity among themselves. This situation must be changed. From now on, A sound system of party committee meetings must be instituted in all leading bodies, from the regional bureaus of the Central Committee to the prefectural party committees, from the party committees of the fronts to the party committees of brigades and military areas, subcommissions of the Revolutionary Military Commission or leading groups, and the leading party members, groups, and government bodies, people's organizations, the news agency, and the newspaper offices. All important problems, of course not the unimportant trivial problems or problems whose solutions have already been decided after discussion at meetings and need only be carried out, must be submitted to the committee for discussion, and the committee members present should express their views fully and reach definite decisions which should then be carried out by the members concerned. Party committee meetings must be divided into two categories: standing committee meetings and plenary sessions, and the two should not be confused. Furthermore, we must take care that neither collective leadership nor personal responsibility is overemphasized to the neglect of the other. In the Army, the person in command has the right to make emergency decisions during battle and when circumstances require. The secretary of a party committee must be good at being a squad leader. A party committee has 10 to 20 members. It is like a squad in the army, and the secretary is like the squad leader. It is indeed not easy to lead this squad well. Each regional bureau or sub-regional bureau of the Central Committee now leads a vast area and shoulders heavy responsibilities. To lead means not only to decide general and specific policies, but also to devise correct methods of work. Even with correct general and specific policies, troubles may still arise if methods of work are neglected. To fulfill its task of exercising leadership, a party committee must rely on its squad members and enable them to play their parts to the full. To be a good squad leader, the secretary should study hard and investigate thoroughly. A secretary or deputy secretary will find it difficult to direct his squad well if he does not take care to do propaganda and organizational work among his own squad members, is not good at handling his relations with committee members, or does not study how to run meetings successfully. If the squad members do not march in step, they can never expect to lead tens of millions of people in fighting and construction. Of course, the relation between the secretary and the committee members is one in which the minority must obey the majority. So it is different from the relation between a squad leader and his men. Here we speak only by way of analogy. Place problems on the table. This should be done not only by the squad leader, but by the committee members too. Do not talk behind people's backs. Whenever problems arise, call a meeting. Place the problems on the table for discussion. Take some decisions, and the problems will be solved. If problems exist and are not placed on the table, they will remain unsolved for a long time, and even drag on for years. The squad leader and the committee members should show understanding in their relations with each other. Nothing is more important than mutual understanding, support, and friendship between the secretary and the committee members, between the Central Committee and its regional bureaus, and between the regional bureaus and the area party committees. Exchange information. This means that members of a party committee should keep each other informed and exchange views on matters that have come to their attention. This is of great importance in achieving a common language. Some fail to do so, and, like the people described by Lao Tzu, do not visit each other all their lives, though the crowing of their cocks and the barking of their dogs are within hearing of each other. The result is that they lack a common language. Ask your subordinates about matters you don't understand or don't know, and do not lightly express your approval or disapproval. We should never pretend to know what we don't know. We should not feel ashamed to ask and learn from people below, and we should listen carefully to the views of the cadres at the lower levels. Be a pupil before you become a teacher. Learn from the cadres at the lower levels before you issue orders. What the cadres at the lower levels say may or may not be correct. After hearing it, we must analyze it. We must heed the correct views and act upon them. Listen also to the mistaken views from below. It is wrong not to listen to them at all. Such views, however, are not to be acted upon, but to be criticized. Learn to play the piano. In playing the piano, all 10 fingers are in motion. It won't do to move some fingers only, and not others. But if all 10 fingers press down at once, there is no melody. To produce good music, the 10 fingers should move rhythmically and in coordination. A party committee should keep a firm grasp on its central task, and at the same time, around the central task, it should unfold the work in other fields. At present, we have to take care of many fields. We must look after the work in all the areas, armed units, and departments, and not give all our attention to a few problems, to the exclusion of others. Wherever there is a problem, we must put our finger on it, and this is a method we must master. Some play the piano well, and some badly, and there is a great difference in the melodies they produce. Members of party committees must learn to play the piano well. Grasp firmly. That is to say, the party committee must not merely grasp, but must grasp firmly its main tasks. One can get a grip on something only when it is grasped firmly, without the slightest slackening. Not to grasp firmly is not to grasp at all. Naturally, one cannot get a grip on something with an open hand. When the hand is clenched as if grasping something but is not clenched tightly, there is still no grip. Some of our comrades do grasp the main tasks, but their grasp is not firm, and so they cannot make a success of their work. It will not do to have no grasp at all, nor will it do if the grasp is not firm. Have a head for figures. That is to say, we must attend to the quantitative aspect of a situation or problem and make a basic quantitative analysis. Every quality manifests itself in a certain quantity, and without quantity there can be no quality. To this day, many of our comrades still do not understand that they must attend to the quantitative aspect of things, the basic statistics, the main percentages, and the quantitative limits that determine the qualities of things. They have no figures in their heads, and as a result, cannot help making mistakes. Notice to reassure the public. Notice of meetings should be given beforehand. This is like issuing a notice to reassure the public, so that everybody will know what is going to be discussed and what problems are to be solved, and can make timely preparations. In some places, meetings of cadres are called without first preparing reports and draft resolutions, and only when people have arrived for the meeting and makeshifts improvised. This is just like the saying, "Troops and horses have arrived, but food and fodder are not ready," and that is no good. Don't call a meeting in a hurry if the preparations are not completed. Fewer and better troops, and simpler administration. Talks, speeches, articles, and resolutions should all be concise and to the point. Meetings also should not go on too long. Pay attention to uniting and working with comrades who differ with you. This should be borne in mind both in the localities and in the army. It also applies to relations with people outside the party. We have come together from every corner of the country, and should be good at uniting in our work, not only with comrades who hold the same views as we, but also with those who hold different views. Guard against arrogance. For anyone in a leading position, this is a matter of principle, and an important condition for maintaining unity. Even those who have made no serious mistakes and have achieved very great success in their work should not be arrogant. Draw two lines of distinction. First, between revolution and counter-revolution, between Yenan and Xian. Some do not understand what they must draw this line of distinction. For example, when they combat bureaucracy, they speak of Yenan as though nothing is right there and fail to make a comparison and distinguish between the bureaucracy in Yenan and the bureaucracy in Xi'an. This is fundamentally wrong. Secondly, within the revolutionary ranks, it is necessary to make a clear distinction between right and wrong, between achievements and shortcomings, and to make clear which of the two is primary and which secondary. For instance, do the achievements amount to 30% or to 70% of the whole? It will not do either to underestimate or to overstate. We must have a fundamental evaluation of a person's work and establish whether his achievements amount to 30% and his mistakes to 70%, or vice versa. If his achievements amount to 70% of the whole, then his work should be, in the main, be approved. It would be entirely wrong to describe work in which the achievements are primary as work in which the mistakes are primary. In our approach to problems, we must not forget to draw these two lines of distinction between revolution and counter-revolution, and between achievements and shortcomings. We shall be able to handle things well if we bear these two distinctions in mind. Otherwise, we shall confuse the nature of the problems. To draw these distinctions well, careful study and analysis are of course necessary. Our attitude towards every person and every matter should be one of analysis and study. In the sphere of organization, ensure democracy under centralized guidance. It should be done on the following lines. 1. The leading body of the party must give a correct line of guidance and find solutions when problems arise, in order to establish themselves as the centers of leadership. 2. The higher bodies must be familiar with the situation in the lower bodies and with the life of the masses, so as to have an objective basis for correct guidance. 3. No party organization at any level should make casual distinctions in solving problems. Once a decision is reached, it must be firmly carried out. 4. All decisions of any importance made by the party's higher bodies must be promptly transmitted to the lower bodies and the party rank and file. 5. The lower bodies of the party and the party rank must file and discuss the higher body's directives in detail in order to understand their meaning thoroughly and decide on the methods of carrying them out.